Hi everyone, this is Michael for Spirit Comics. Welcome to my channel. This is part of my 25 days of comic book reviews. This is day 19. I will be reviewing the Uncanny X-Men number 341, which came out in February of 1997. And on the cover there is Gladiator going to battling I want to say Slingshot, but that's not right. Oh my, no, Cannonball. Brain on the fritz. I am so sorry. If you're new here, please do subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. Also, please do give the video a thumbs up and share it around. And don't forget to comment. Now, this was back in 1997 when it was basically, I think, anything goes type comics. Because I've been reviewing stories from the Glory and Friends Christmas special, which was released in 1995. And as if you've watched those, and you've noticed some of the characters are very provocative. Well, so are the male characters. It says, alone against the power of Gladiator. Now, this is not considered a Christmas issue, but I think you could consider a unofficial Christmas issue because it begins in New York City during December, and of course there's a Christmas tree and snow's falling. Now, I'm going to try to read this from Hank McCoy, but it is just so silly that I'm bound to make some mistakes. Hank says to Cannonball, his date, Bishop, Remy, and Joseph, you'll find out who he is, and Rogue. Not that it is my unabashed intent to raise the hopes or warm the cookies of my compatriots' hearts, but within my admittedly limited knowledge of all things meteorological, my postulations near positively predict that the current condensation will coincide correctly with the most desired of chronological occurrences. Rogue says, great. I guess that mean what's that mean in English, Hank? Cannonball says, I'm gonna guess it looks like we're having a white Christmas. Exactly, Hank says. I find it interesting how now Remy, I can understand having a southern accent, but Cannonball, I don't know that he's from the South. I'm not sure, and sometimes it's even Rogue. She's from the South too, but not all of them use a southern accent. Now, this issue, to me, it not only means to deliver, a good fight, which it does, but also a good message. And I'll talk about that in a bit. And Hank's here in his human form says, as we've all decided to divest ourselves of the yoke of mutantdom in general, and X-Menace in particular, of this Christmas Eve, who would like to join me, my image-induced form notwithstanding, and the tempting Trish Tuble for dinner? She says, tempting Trish Tubby? Remy, who is called Gambit, says, sorry, mon ami, other plans. And Rogue says, Remy, I thought. Merci. Anyway, chérie. Besides, Rogue, Papa always taught me three's a crowd. Ahem. This man, who you probably recognize, utters, he doesn't say much until down here. And they all decide that they'll meet up. When this dude, like I said, who you probably recognize, sorry, Dr. McCoy, but we've got other plans as well. We do? Yes. Where? Now. When? Yes. When? Now. What? Shh. Now you'll find out his name here in a moment. Now they happen upon a horse carriage, but in the comic book it's called a cab. And the gentleman driving it says, Merry Christmas, sir. Would you and the missus care for a ride? No, but if you'd care to chauffeur me, to chauffeur my friend and I for a while, we'd appreciate it. Joseph, I'd rather sulk. Point. So his name's Joseph. Okay. Bishop is telling Hank that he's going to take his leave for a little bit as well. And Cannonball, his name is Sam, says that he has some shopping to do. Hank says, Et tu, Sam? And he has a southern drawl as well. Actually, I'd love to join y'all. I just forgot a few things to pick up for my brothers and sisters first. And he shows Hank and his date a very long list, as you can see right there. Sam says, it shouldn't take 5 minutes. I'll see you at the restaurant. Right, 5 minutes. We'll never see him again, Hank says to his date. So he goes off by himself, and I really like the mindset of Cannonball. He's thinking to himself, I have to admit, if I wasn't so far into the Christmas spirit, I reckon I'd be pretty depressed. I mean, this ain't exactly been a banner year for mutants. Professor Xavier slips a gear or two, Magneto joins the X-Men, and Onslaught practically destroys the world. Most of the heroes are gone, and 2 weeks later, Graydon Creed gets assassinated in front of X-Factor and all of the whole nation. Warren and Betsy are changing right in front of our eyes, and Iceman's gone off to bond with his pa. Here you are, Mr. Claus. God bless you, son, and have a happy new year to you and yours. Believe me, Santa, it can only get better. Now, something I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen. We here in 2020, many of us have experienced a less than good year. Many of us, not including myself, not including me, are just waiting for this year to be finished. Or just waiting for 2021 to come along because they see 2020 as so horrible. This was released 1997. Sam here acknowledges that a lot of bad stuff has happened to mutants in the recent times of his life. But he is still, as he says, far into the Christmas spirit. He chooses to be, well, for lack of a better word, jolly instead of a Scrooge. And he says here, believe me, Santa, it can only get better. And, I believe that too about 2020. I believe this present month, this next year, it can only get better. Anyways, he continues thinking, not that I mean to complain. Sure, I miss Ma, Josh, and Joel, and Paige, and of course Paul. But I'm still a really lucky guy. I got another family right here, a real special one. If and I don't count all the people who are always trying to kill me. So he acknowledges that even though he's not with his family, he's around people that are his family, even though they're not related by blood. He sees the good. He sees the positive in his situation. At the same time, when he sees the bad and the negative. And he chooses to be, well, of good cheer. And then this happens. I led a pretty charmed life. He enters this place. It's a toy store. Man, does that look like a big toy store. It's New York City, of course. And this is what he's thinking. Deep breath, Sam. Just think of it as a danger room with kids. Now, for those of you who do not know, the danger room is a training room that the X-Men use to train themselves, to hone their abilities, to get better at fighting, so when the big bads come, they know what to do. So anyways, he walks up to this sales lady, and she says, "Can I help you, sir?" "I hope so. Do you sell Monozoid 3000 cartridges? We sold out about 3 months ago. Can I interest you in anything else? I reckon any suggestions?" And then he sees something overhead. And everybody else thinks it's like a light show, but he recognizes it because he's seen it before. And all of a sudden this happens. Wham! He protects the woman, And it's the Gladiator. He's come for the X-Men because he needs the X-Men. Now, the Gladiator, to me, is not the biggest part of this story. Because on the other page we have, meanwhile, we have Rogue and Joseph, who are in the carriage together. And she's actually smiling. Now you find out who this Joseph's character is. Not the most discreet use of your magnetic powers. You realize Cyclops would have both our heads for this. Then it's a good thing he's not here. So, magnetic powers, X-Men, that can only mean this Joseph is Magneto. And then the gentleman who's driving the cab says, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Mutants, right? That obvious? We're sorry, sir. We'll put you down and you'll do no such thing, ma'am. I've read the papers. I've seen the television reports about mutants. What's more, I've come to my own conclusions. I think you're all trying your best to lead your own lives, a lot of times going out of your way to make sure us normal folk can live ours. What I'm saying is, it's an honor to have you in my cab. I mean, Christmas is a time for miracles, right? I'd like to enjoy this one, just as soon as I get my fingernails out of my kneecaps, that is. Why, thank you, sir. That means a lot. If you could drop us off at the World Trade Center, that would be perfect. Magneto says. Oh, that's a nice way they drew the moon. And then this is somebody who's working overtime, sees the carriage, fly by. He's telling his wife that he has to work. He has to get in this and that. And then he sees this come by the window, and he tells his wife, "Maybe you're right. I have been working too hard. I'll be home soon. Love you." And then he leaves his office. That really wasn't necessary, but it was funny. And Gladiator and Cannonball, they keep fighting, and man, they're two powerhouses. And Cannonball will not let up, because look at him go. And I forgot what Gladiator did, but he did something that literally stopped Cannonball in his tracks. And then Cannonball just sort of threw him in the opposite direction. And this happened. Kaboom! And then we have a lot more a lot more dialogue here. This is over Twin Towers. As close as you can get to the top of the world in New York City. Magneto is talking to Rogue, and I'm going to sum it up as best I can because this was even confusing for me, the way Magneto described it. Basically, this thing right here has been below the X-Men's Westchester mansion for a long time, and it allows certain elements of the body to not react in the ways they normally do. Magneto has spent days reassembling it right here. Rogue says, "That's nice, Joseph, but why?" Because this was a surprise present for Rogue. Now, he goes on to describe that her powers. You know, she can take another person's entire being if she wants, and their powers for a limited time. But at the same moment, that's why she wears gloves. That's why she has no one that she can kiss. That's why she can never have physical contact with any human or any other mutant. And it's a burden that she bears constantly in her life. And he described that big thing and what it does, and he mentioned her powers. And he says, but what if the mind that contained those things was unreachable, meaning his mind? What if that mind remained clothed, meaning his mind? See, this big thing would do that to him. In the same way, you wear gloves to prevent your skin from contacting with another human. You're saying? He says, I'm saying to close your eyes, Rogue. She says, Joseph, please. I've been down this road before, and it only leads to disappointment. Do you trust me? Yes. And then this happens. He gives her a kiss on the forehead, and she responds, I don't know what to say. Magneto says, Merry Christmas, Rogue. Physical contact was, that small gesture of physical contact was his gift to her. Gladiator and Cannonball's fight continues, and man, it's good. The colors in here, they really pop. I mean, look at how Cannonball is surrounded by fire. And check out Gladiator. If people think that women were exaggerated in comic books during the 1990s, oh, look at Gladiator. He's got muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. And then Gladiator throws Cannonball into the sun, but he strengthens his shield and comes back and smacks Gladiator down. Wham! Bravo! The other X-Men were watching, and they came by to help out if needed. And then Rogue steps up, asking, what's his deal? And he describes that the Sheer Empire is in grave danger, and he's been tasked to seek their help. They must go in his stead. And so he transports the 6 of them to his homeworld. but not Cannonball. And he asks why. But what about May? To send a youth into such danger would lack honor. For if your 6 comrades are not successful, the Shi'ar Empire will fall, and the rest of the universe will follow. Next, 6 against the galaxy. That was a really cool issue, and to see Magneto give the gift of just a kiss on the forehead to Rogue, something she cannot have. She absolutely cannot have because of her powers. That was wonderful, in my opinion. And Scott Lobdell was the writer of this issue, and he also wrote Red Hood and the Outlaws for a few years. But he did a lot better with the X-Men, I think. So I enjoyed this immensely. What about you? Let me know down in the comments, and if you're new here, please do subscribe, click the notification bell. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it around. This was day 19 of my 25 days of comic book reviews. I am Michael for Spirit Comics. Till next time, true readers, may all your news be good news.